Oh, there she is, Niki Koss, my dear friend. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I get to talk with you again. We talked on Night Night and uh, did a whole promotion on that. What a wonderful little film that is.
Yeah, gosh, that was crazy. That was right before COVID, and we were
Yeah.
all so naive.
Your progress in this business has been phenomenal. I mean, did you start out as a model?
Oh, no, I did not. And thank you for saying that. I started as an actress, and I did that for several years, and pretty quickly into that realized that you can only kind of be creative when someone hires you to be creative.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to be creative all the time. So I started directing and writing just on the side for fun and fell in love with that, and then just kind of rolled with the punches and just let my career take me where it took me and landed here.
Yeah, and what a landing. You've you've produced and directed a few films now since Night Night, and what a good eye you have for
Thank
directing.
you. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Is that a natural ability, or does that come with hard study?
I have to say I have not done my fair share of studying on directing, and I think that the reason I love it so much, and the reason I'd like to think that I'm good at it, or you know good enough at it to continue to work, is that it sort of is this all-encompassing thing that includes every one of my passions. And when I was growing up, I always struggled because I would switch what my dream was all the time out. One day I wanted to be a fashion designer, one day I wanted to design interiors, one day I wanted to make art, one day I wanted to do music stuff, and acting and directing is all of that. And I get to sort of play in all these different fields, and obviously let the best of the best do what they do, but help sort of guide them and curate a vision together. So it's like my dream job. It's the best.
Does being an actor help you direct? I mean, are you more empathetic to your cast?
I would like to think so. I think as cheesy as it sounds, there's like a language that you learn as an actor where you can sort of relate to other actors in a really special and intimate way. And for example, I just finished a film that I directed yesterday, that I can't say anything about, but I did finish it. And there was a moment on set where one of the actors had asked me if he could do another take, and we were just running so behind, and I had to sort of make the decision of whether or not I would let him do that and maybe miss something down the line. And just having been in his position, I knew that he wouldn't ask unless he really needed it. And so yeah, I think it allows for a trust that is really special and unique, and just sort of this nice communication too.
Did you receive that kind of trust when you were in front of the camera on those projects?
That's a good question. I did and I didn't. And I think that I'm glad for both of those, experiences, because I learned what I didn't want to do as a director often and oftentimes, and I learned what I did want to do, and what I wanted to emulate. And it was really super helpful and informative to have good experiences and bad experiences as an actor with different directors.
With Homeschool, that's a documentary. So do you prefer documentaries over the other type of film, narrative films?
Homeschooled was the first documentary I had ever done, and I never thought that I would do documentaries, but we were in a writer's strike and an actor's strike, and I was bored and I wanted to do something. So we decided to put together this documentary, and I wasn't expecting it to be as special of an experience as it was. And I thought it would just kind of be like a one and done something to do, but I really fell in love with the process and how completely different storytelling is in that space. And narrative is definitely where my heart is. That's my favorite, but I've really, really enjoyed making the documentary and would like to do more in the future. But what I will say is I like character-driven documentaries that are maybe a little bit more on the lighthearted side and a little bit more, comedic. And I just find people so fun and fascinating. And I think it would have to be something super character-driven.
Talk to me a little bit about the process of putting Homeschooled together, because I know that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was we honestly I didn't know what I was doing if I'm being so real with you. So there was a learning curve, which was fun to play with, but also challenging. And we shot the film for a low budget, and we did everything ourselves. It was very like boots on the ground, guerrilla, and I think going into people's homes, especially people who, homeschooled families are by nature, I think, a little bit more private. Um, and it was really an interesting experience going into these people's homes that you've never met before. And within an hour of meeting them, you're asking them like the most personal questions they've ever been asked. And so navigating that territory and that dynamic and trying to be gentle, but also, um, aggressive. I guess not aggressive isn't the right word, but trying to get to the heart of and the meat of the story, but in a gentle way, was a really weird thing to figure out. But it was fun. It was a cool challenge.
Talk to me about how the idea came about.
So it was a twofold idea. One piece of it was I was listen, I love true crime documentaries just as much as the next person, but I was getting a bit sick of seeing, murder after murder after murder on my Netflix of documentaries, and most of them were about violence towards women. And I just kind of wanted to see something real with real people that was just gonna make me laugh and make me smile. And I love Love on the Spectrum and Down for Love, and that was a huge inspiration for me. I was like, let's make something fun and sweet and funny but real. And so that was part of it. And then when trying to figure out what the concept would be, it was birthed from a conversation I had with a friend who was homeschooled, and I know nothing or knew nothing about homeschooling. And I had asked him, what about prom? Like, what do you guys do for all of these, quintessential coming of age experiences that we took or I took for granted growing up? And a lot of them, either didn't have it or they kind of created their own version of it with other homeschoolers in the area. So I just found that really fascinating. And I was like, let's just give, these kids a prom and give them this moment that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have, and see what they do with it.
I was homeschooled because I was bullied.
How I feel about being homeschooled is it's great.
I don't remember how old I was when I started.
When people find out I'm homeschooled, they think that like it's weird or I'm like antisocial, but that's not always the case.
I don't go outside often. I don't have a need for outside.
Most of all of my friends are online.
It is such a heartwarming film. I mean, how they're preparing and talking about it, and it brought me back to my high school years too, because there's a lot of uncertainty in going to the prom.
Yeah, I love that. That was the goal. And yeah, we wanted to just make people feel nostalgic and happy and sad in all the right ways. And yeah, I wasn't expecting, by the end of the shoot, it's the whole next day, I literally couldn't stop crying because I wasn't expecting to be so moved by these kids, and seeing them from the beginning of this process versus the end was just unbelievable, and their growth and, their bravery and vulnerability. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. And a lot of them, it was the first time they'd ever even been to a party. So it was just so amazing to watch that unfold and watch them come alive.
It really is like walking through a curtain and going into Oz for these kids, because they're not used to, dressing up and the glamour, the makeup,
Yeah.
the girls especially, obviously. But it's a life-changing event.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was like the biggest thing to have happened to all of them, and or at least most of them. And it's something like we don't really think, oh, prom's silly, like, you get a few of them in your life and you look back on your terrible outfit choice. But for them, I think it just meant so much more. And a lot of them didn't have the opportunity to interact with people their own age on a daily basis. And it was just, yeah, it was really heartwarming to be able to see them socialize in that way.
Now the film is currently online and streaming, and I suggest people, don't wait. Just go ahead and watch this film, because it really is a wonderful window into every one of our pasts. By seeing this, because whether you went to, public school or private school or even been homeschooled, that step is a leap of faith.
Yeah, yeah. I think I really admire the kids for being brave enough to decide to be homeschooled, but also some of them to decide to step away from homeschooling, and just being able to make a choice for yourself that is truly just for you, and maybe even at the cost of others at that age, is very brave. And I admire these kids so much, and I just have so much love for them. And I agree, people should watch it right now, because it's just heartwarming and light, and it's an easy watch, and just get a little glass of wine and some takeout and watch the movie and have some laughs.
And we need stuff like this right now,
Yeah.
too. I mean, the world is a kind of a ball of, crap,
Yeah.
I want to say. But, I mean, it's just kind of an interesting world, and this is just a slice of apple pie.
Oh, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted. And I felt like I needed that too when I was making the movie. I felt like, the world was like crashing around us, and every day you turn on your devices and you're told you should be anxious about this, you need to be worried about this, you should be scared of this. And I just wanted to do the opposite with this movie.
It's not an easy thing to do, because you've got to plot and plan and make every step, every frame count. And that's the first thing you learn as a director. There's no room for just letting things fly. You have to make every frame count.
Yeah, yeah, it's very true. Especially with not a lot of money.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I always say I don't know what I'm gonna do when I step onto like a massive budget movie one day, and I'm gonna be like, what do we do with all this time? But yeah, every moment had to count, especially on this, because we had so little time with the kids. And we got very, very lucky in that they were just open books. They were really willing to just lay it all on the table and give us everything and be so vulnerable. And if they weren't able to do that right off the bat, and it had taken some more time and finessing, I don't know if we would have gotten the product that we did.
as you brought up, there is a huge difference between, a smaller budget independent film and these big budget movies. You've been on both sets. And I think the people that work in independent films, as you do now, with your directing, it leads more to creativity, because you don't have the funds to just make things happen. You have to think, and you have to go, well, it's raining, let's use that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it's challenging in all the right ways, and it's a lot of fun. And I always say, as a director, if I'm doing an indie movie, I prepare like crazy. And no matter how much I prep, I get to set, and I 90% of the time have to just throw it out the window and recalibrate with whatever, is in front of me and whatever tools we have to utilize in that moment. So that's why it's just so important to have a team that you vibe with, create creatively, and just trust and feel comfortable with. And even when tensions get high, you can still figure out a way to, make your art together.
And speaking of the art behind the film, do you like to storyboard films, or do you just know in your head what's going to happen?
I hate storyboarding. So it's weird, but I guess I do storyboard in a way in my head, and I'm very visual heavy, and I always share a ton of visuals with all the department heads, my DP, wardrobe, hair, makeup, gaffers, everyone gets a lot of visuals, but it's never like a moment by moment visual play of what we're making.
Now, as an actor, do you have a favorite role you've played so far?
Yeah, I mean, I love all the roles I've played for different reasons, but definitely my favorite would be my role on Famous in Love, because I had the most time with her, and we shot that show for over the course of several years and 2 seasons, and I was really able to just like make her my own and get to know her. And also, when I auditioned originally for that show, I had auditioned for a different character, and I remember reading the script and thinking, wow, whoever gets to play this part is going to be so lucky. Like, this is the coolest role in this show. And I got called back for that role, and on paper, the way it was described in the pilot was like opposite of me. It was like blonde and tall and modelly. And I was shocked that I got called back for it, and so excited. And then I just felt like once that had happened, I was like, okay, I'm just going to make her completely my version of her. And if they like it, great. And I was lucky enough that they did. And then I was able to just keep doing that. So that was really special.
Was that a series where you kind of shadowed the director a little bit too, and took home a few new tools for your tool belt?
Definitely. I have some amazing director mentors that has come from that show. And to this day, there's huge mentors of mine that I talk to often, and I've shadowed on different shows since. And yeah, that experience was so amazing for a multitude of reasons, but I would say one of the greatest ones was getting to know the creatives behind it, and our showrunner, and just all of our directors were so great.
As we wind down our interview, tell me a little bit about your production company.
So K Factor Films is it's a boutique production company that focuses mostly on film, but we also do a multitude of different things. We do commercials and music videos, and we do shorts if we feel like they're the right fit for us, and different things like that. We've even delved into social media content. We've done some commercials for social media and managed some different accounts. So it's become sort of this multimedia production company that with a focus on film. But the goal behind the company is mostly, I think I would just say to champion female-driven stories. Personally, my favorite kind of content to watch is with a badass female lead in it, and or a strong female force behind it in some form or another. So that's my goal, is to champion women in this industry above all else, and also filmmakers that maybe don't get chosen sometimes because of things that really have nothing to do with filmmaking. So that's the concept behind K Factor Films.
Yeah, and we have this wonderful time now where more women are doing exactly that, and creating content that usually would be reserved for a man to play. The tough detective or the hit man or whatever. It's a time now where I think there's a balance happening, although it's not there yet. But I think
we're inching our way.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. I mean, the door should be wide open now, but it takes how many years for overnight success? About 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. People think it happens overnight, but it's definitely a progression. And I think that, with the climate that our world is in right now, unfortunately, it feels like, we're taking steps backwards for, gender equality. And now we need more than ever to continue to champion women in every field, but I think especially in film, because this is, what the rest of the world is watching and getting ideas from, and taking, home to the dinner table to have conversations off of. And for me, it's like you said, there's so many quintessential roles that people just assume should be played by men. And personally, I love looking at a script as a producer and being like, seeing that they're cast for men, and turning the tables on them and saying, hey, let's put a woman in this role. And so I think little things like that we can do to help sort of shift this archaic perspective is so important.
It's such a pleasure to catch up with you and see how successful you are. As I said, I'm so proud that we're friends, and I'm proud of your success. I just adore you.
I adore you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.